my pleasure and honor to introduce Naftali.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. So thank you for all of that introduction. What a beautiful opportunity it is for me. And I must tell you, with some of my clients that I work with, especially the Jewish ones, it's kind of hard to get them on the phone at this time of year. So now people busy, holidays, stuff like that, kind of a lot of things that are front and center on their mind. And the fact that you were here, at this auspicious time in the high holidays between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, to take some time to take stock, to take some time to learn, to really invest in yourselves and invest in your organizations. To me, that's a tremendous, I'll use the Hebrew word first and then I will translate. The word is chizuk. It's a tremendous source of inspiration for me. It makes me feel like, we really have some great people in this wonderful community that are committed to making a difference. So really thank you all for inviting me here. And I thought I would share with you just a very brief Torah thought before we get into the nuts and bolts, so to speak, of our presentation tonight. This past week, we read from the Torah portion, Nitzavim. Nitzavim translates literally as standing. And the context of the phrase is Moses speaks to the Jewish people and he says to them, Atem nitzavim hayom kulachem, you are all standing here today. And what is that referring to? So Rashi, the great commentator, talks about the idea, based on our sages, that the Jewish people had just heard in the previous Torah reading that all of the things that are going to happen to them if they do not conform to God's will, so to speak, if they do not fulfill the mitzvot, etc. And they're all nervous. And so Moses said, it could be difficult, but don't be nervous. You are standing here today. And just like you are here today, you will be here for the future. But I saw a different explanation. It's going to require a little bit of grammatical understanding, but I think it's such a beautiful thought. And I'd like to share with you if I can. The shoresh, the root of the word nitzavim, is yud tzadi vet, which is yatsav. Etymologically, that word is very close. Samson Raphael talks about this idea. He says yatsav is very close to the Hebrew yashav, which means to sit. So interesting, we have a word that means to stand that has a lot in common with a word that means to sit. But he's troubled by the following problem. He says, why does it say atem nitzavim hayom? You are standing here, using an unusual word for standing. The typical word we use for standing, such as with the silent prayer, when we stand together silently, we say the Amidah. Amidah, la'amod, means to stand. So normally when you say, and Abraham got up and he said, Vayamod Abraham, we see it in the Torah many times. Why is the word nitzavim used here instead of the word omdim? And so he says, because the word nitzavim comes from the fact that when you sit, you're comfortable, you're strong, you're in position, you have a certain long-standing association with where you are. Right? You're not going anywhere, so to speak, when you're sitting down. When you're standing, however, it could be very transient. We don't typically like to stand for very long. When you're standing in a way that demonstrates longevity, demonstrates eternity, demonstrates a long-standing relationship with whatever it is that you are doing, then we use the word nitzavim, because that has more of a permanent association to it. And he says, that why does it say atem nitzavim? You are standing. Because what Moses was saying to the Jewish people that day is as follows: I might be temporary. I'm your leader. I'm going to eventually pass on. But you, the Jewish people, are eternal. What you represent as a nation, you're not going anywhere. You may go through trials and tribulations. You may go through exiles. You may go through suffering, and we know we have. Anyone who knows anything about Jewish history knows how much as a nation we have suffered. But anyone who knows Jewish history also knows how much we have endured. All of the people who have studied history, I'm talking about from the outside, people who are not Jewish, who do not have a particular desire necessarily to want to make us look good, continually talk about the idea, from Mark Twain to Blaise Pascal to Paul Johnson and many others, how the Jews are really a miracle. The fact that we are still here today, connected to our identity, that's miraculous. No other nation has endured what we have endured, and we're still here today. And so I thought that that was a beautiful message for our conversation tonight, because all of you, whether you are heads of your organization as professional staff, or whether you are lay leaders, presidents, or members of the board who are working hard each and every day, or in whatever frequency you participate, to help your organizations grow and thrive in all of this, we all have to realize that those organizations, that's the lifeblood of who we are as a people. That's what makes us the Jewish people in essence. That's our identity, that's our core. And we all know that the more affiliated we are with our organizations, the more connected we feel with our religion, our identity as Jews. We all know the research. We all know the data. And so my hat goes off to you, to all of you, to really want to begin, because we're going to talk about some things, going to be a little bit difficult as we talk about the challenges between, relationships and whatnot. But I want everybody to realize that you all have a special mission, you all have a special purpose. Every time you go to a meeting, I know it's not always as easy, sort of like, I remember back in the day, I'm dating myself a little bit, but when I was a kid, there was this commercial from Dunkin' Donuts, you might have seen it. And the guy, little guy, round face with a mustache, and he'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, he'd be like, time to make the donuts. Familiar with that? Yeah, okay, we got it. So that guy, sometimes you go to a meeting, you go to things like that, and it feels a little bit difficult, right? I gotta leave my home, I gotta get myself off of whatever it is that I wanna be doing right now, and I have to move on because I've got a communal obligation, and it's not always so easy. But if we realize what we represent and who we represent, and all the good that we're doing because of our participation, I think hopefully that'll give us an extra push, so to speak, in our process.